Hey, how are you, sir?
Hey, Dean Wilson.
Dean, I'm James. How's
James,
it going?
pleasure to meet you, sir. Please sit down.
Thank you. Hey, what I'm doing is, I'm in the market for a smaller SUV. I've looked at the Honda CR-V, I've looked at the Escape, but the CR-V is something I'm really interested in. So that's about the range, size, and everything I'm looking for.
Right.
I do a lot of traveling, skiing, fishing, hunting. Love the mountains.
In the mountains a lot.
A lot. Up and down those hills and everything like that. So I heard a lot about the CX-5. A lot of people told me about it, but I really know nothing about it. Can you tell me about it?
I certainly can. This is, it's one thing for us to pat ourselves on the back with this car, but this car is getting a lot of great independent party write-ups.
Wow.
A lot of great third-party write-ups. So if you do your research on it, check on Auto Vitel's already named this vehicle SUV of the year.
Really?
For 2012. This is a 2013 model, so we're already getting the jump on everybody. This is a
Wow.
great little vehicle. And there are a lot of reasons for it. It's not just because, it's got great looks, although it does have great looks. I'll tell you kind of how it's designed. It's designed to look like a cheetah getting ready to pounce. If you look at it, yeah, it's got the Kodo sole design. Yeah, it's got the nice little streams there to kind of give the muscles of the car. But yeah, it's a great looking car. But more than great looks, it's a great performance car. Mm-hmm. This car is what we call Sky Active. Okay. It's kind of a new technology, but not really new. And the reason I say that is because they've been working on this technology for about a decade now. Okay. So before they ever released it, they perfected it. Mm-hmm. And so we haven't had any complaints with this vehicle. This Sky Active is also in the Mazda 3, which has been around for a while too. So the Sky Active nature of this vehicle makes it what it is. And basically Sky Active breaks down into 4 components. Okay. Sky Active has to do with the engine, how we retweaked the internal combustion engine. This isn't a hybrid. Mm-hmm. You may be looking at some other vehicles that are hybrids. Yes. This vehicle gets best fuel economy in its class, including hybrids.
So it beats the CR-V.
It beats the CR-V.
That's good.
And it's not. It has nothing to do with hybrids. Basically, it's a retweaking of the internal combustion engine that helps them get the fuel economy. Then there are other things that are included in that, like the transmission. You got a transmission that is a combination of all the best transmissions, the dual clutch, CVT, automatic transmission, so that not only is the engine performing at peak performances, but you're shifting at peak times at just the right time. Then on top of that, it's a lighter weight. I don't know if you know this or not, but the CX-5 is kind of taking the place of the CX-7 on Mazda's line.
I got you.
So it's a lighter vehicle, but it's safer.
Really?
They've reduced the weight size because they've wrapped it in high tensile steel. Okay. It's lighter, and yet it's more rigid. Okay. So this is a top safety pick by the Insurance Association. So this is a great car. And the other thing, besides the engine, the transmission, besides the lightweight, it also has a great chassis system. The guys who developed the Miata, the Miata, talking about going in the mountains, the Miata loves the mountains.
It does.
But guess what? This vehicle loves the mountains too. This vehicle has what it takes with this independent suspension, McPherson struts, that kind of thing, that takes you where you want to be.
That's one of the things, in the mountains, the CR-V, when I test drove it, whenever I did a hard turn, I had to lean with the car. Yeah. So with the suspension you're talking about.
Independent suspension, there's no body roll in this. And I'm going to give you a chance to experience that here in a minute. We're going to take a little zoom experience here in just a few moments. But this vehicle, what I love about it is that it is stylish and yet performance driven too. If you know anything about Mazda, on any given weekend there are more Mazdas racing than any other vehicle made. So Mazda's big time into racing. And they put that heart and soul of a sports car in everything that they make. That's just the way that's what drives them, So they've got a car. If you're talking about going through the mountains, this car will have the horsepower for you to do it. Now I know that you're talking about the CR-V. Got a little more horsepower, but you know where that is? That's on the higher RPMs. Okay. So Mazda puts its horsepower in the lower RPMs. As a matter of fact, interesting statistic: Mazda and the CR-V. From 0 to 60, Mazda beats it, even with 155 horsepower, because they got all that crank down in the lower RPMs.
So I see. So it's going to give me the horsepower when I need it.
When you need it.
So when I go off the gun, the CR-V might catch me after a couple miles. But
it may catch you. It
You know,
just
that's
depends
good to
on
know.
how heavy a foot you got, you know?
That's true. And you know, in the mountains when I'm out there, when I'm fishing, that's one thing I'm always worried about is, you know, if I tow a boat, you know, when am I gonna have the power for it? So the lower RPMs and stuff.
Yeah,
That's great.
lower RPMs, it's also has hill assist. If you're on a, you know, you're on a road where you come up to a stop sign or a red light or something, and you take your foot off the brake to move it over to the gas, no rolling back, none of that kind of stuff. Also has a 2,000-pound towing capacity. with
Wow,
this
that's
vehicle.
good for that
Yeah.
size.
So this is a great little car, incredible gas mileage. I mean, they're saying that Mazda does a great job with being very conservative on the numbers.
Yeah.
The numbers that they put on the sticker, 32, we've had reports already of 40 to 45 on this thing. So this is an amazing little vehicle. They don't want people to look at it and think, I can't get that number. They want people to look at it and say, I'm going past that number. I've actually had people call me back in on the Mazda 3 that's got the Sky Active. They called back and said, dude, I'm getting 50, 51, 49 miles per gallon on that vehicle. So this vehicle has potential to get a lot of great gas mileage, take you through the mountains the way you want to go. And as we step inside, you'll see, what I'm going to do is raise the back end. When we get out there, we'll raise the back end. You'll see that this thing divides into 3 sections, depending upon the trim level that you get. You can get a Sport, you can get a Touring, or a Grand Touring. The Sport is kind of the entry level. Touring is kind of the middle of the road, and then Grand Touring has all the bells and whistles. On the Sport, it splits in the back 60-40. On the Touring and Grand Touring, it splits 40-20-40. So if you had 4 people riding with you, and yet you had your fishing poles, you could flip that middle down, that 20% section, and put your fishing pole.
Yeah,
right
because
there.
now mine go across the back of my head.
Yeah.
That's one thing I noticed in the CRV, the way you design, it's gonna be doing the same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
That's incredible.
So that's a great deal on that too. The vehicle has, if you have the back seats up, it's about 35 cubic feet of space.
Okay.
Fold those down, it's about 65 cubic feet of space,
Okay.
you know, to load stuff in. Essentially, this is the same on the inside as the CX-7, same cubic feet. Outside, just redesigned, you know, just a cooler, sleeker look. As you can see, when we get out there, you'll see that there's a lot of different features. You can get the 5.8-inch screen you can have navigation with that. You can have, and that's, by the way, touchscreen navigation. It's also voice-controlled navigation.
That brings up one thing, is that everything in the CRV wasn't really, it's hard. You know, I have to take my eyes off the road to look at the navigation, or, you know, I have to press buttons over here to really control the stereo. And it's not really user-friendly.
Right.
Now, in the
right.
CX-5, that's going to be a concern of mine. Being in the roads, in the mountains, I don't want to take my eyes off the road.
I got great news for you.
Okay.
Because I mentioned earlier that these guys are into racing, they build a cockpit in this thing that is very driver-centric.
Okay.
Everything, it's a little bit smaller steering wheel, as you will see, but it's fun to hold on to. Very responsive acceleration, very responsive braking. But on that steering wheel, it has all of your controls, essentially.
Okay.
If you get it with Bluetooth, you can talk on your phone just by touching the steering wheel. If you want to activate your navigation, you touch your steering wheel and talk to it, and it will activate your navigation.
Really?
Activate your cruise, adjust your radio, whatever you want to do. Most of this stuff is right there on your steering wheel, and then if it's not, it's within easy reach to reach over and touch that screen or adjust your knobs.
So it's user-friendly, and I could be
Big
down
time.
about later, okay?
Big time,
That's really good.
absolutely. They did this, you know, with people in mind, and that's the main thing. Mazda's motto is, you know, if it's not worth building, it's not worth driving.
Absolutely.
And they have built this so that people will enjoy the drive. It's a very engaging drive. So I tell you what, I love it, and I've sold a lot of these, and the people that I have sold them to love it too. So I think you're going to find out that this little vehicle is going to meet all of your needs and exceed your expectations. You can also get this, by the way, and we'll go out there and look at it here in a moment. You can get it with blind spot monitoring. Do you know what that is?
No, I do not.
Blind spot monitoring, you know, sometimes you might have someone get in your blind spot. The way they've designed this, there's not a big blind spot on this car anyway, but they've added to that by putting inside your outside windows, outside mirrors there, they put a little icon that will light up if somebody gets in your blind spot.
Okay.
In other words, there's a radio frequency that projects 20 feet back here, and as you're going 20 miles an hour, someone gets into that blind spot area, it shows up on your mirror. It lights up.
Okay.
And then if for some reason you miss that, you know, you're not thinking about that, you're thinking about turning, so you turn your blinker on and start to go, it'll chime at you.
Oh, wow.
Another reinforcement not to move over. So that's a cool feature. That comes on different packages. You don't necessarily get that on the entry level.
Yes.
But, you know, as we look at this vehicle, you'll have to determine where you want to be, where it works for you, money-wise. You can get into these for somewhere in the neighborhood of $23,000 to $24,000, which for an SUV of this caliber is outstanding. Get middle of the road, 25 to 27, and then top end, 30 to 31.
That's,
So-
what are the tire sizes? I'm looking at the Grand Touring. What are the tire sizes on the Grand
17 on the Sport and on the Touring, and then 20, I believe.
Yeah.
I'll have to check my booklet.
Okay.
By the way, I have a booklet here for you.
Great.
Yeah, I was just going through it myself.
I got you.
But this tells all about it. But yeah, the Grand Touring, I'm pretty sure they're 20-inch, and they are sweet.
That's
Alloy wheels. Yeah, it's got a great look to it, great feel. I tell you what we need to do, this is gonna set it up for you. I mean, I try to tell you everything about it and whet your appetite, but once you get in it and drive it, it's gonna make all the difference in the world.
I'm
So
ready
what do
to
you
go.
say? You ready to do this thing?
Absolutely, let's
All
go.
right, let's go.